Hello, hello, hello. Here we are. I'm Helen.
Hello, and I'm Szara.
And together we're
Committed
committed
parenting.
parenting. So around here, what
Yeah,
happens?
around here, well, what we're mostly about, our biggest mission and why we're here, what has us get up in the day and be in this conversation is that what's so important to us is families thrive. My
Mm-hmm,
family thrives, Helen's family thrives, but we so get the difference it makes in every area of your life when your family gets to experience what thrive is. So
mm-hmm,
that's like the biggest thing we're up
mm-hmm,
to.
mm-hmm.
And inside of that, families have connection. Kids
They
are
really do.
heard. Kids
Yeah.
experience being heard. Yeah.
And, I'm also standing here for parents, right?
Yeah.
That parents actually have power and that actually have a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction.
Yeah. Like that's the thing I love is that satisfaction. Like that I always get that picture like when I'm putting my head down on the pillow, when I can be like that was satisfying. It might not have been perfect. It might not have been like, by the rule book or playbook, but I can put my head down on the pillow being I'm satisfied as a parent, what got provided in my family today and that our family gets to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like just the most rewarding experience in my
It
book.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And you said it's the most rewarding experience, but it's not. It's the kind of thing that is not just where it's over here where you are. It's the
Mm,
impact it has on your family.
yes. Yeah. Like it's like you get to actually it's that connection piece. Like you actually got that the satisfaction fulfillment I have as I'm resting my head on my pillow, my kids are resting their head on the pillow with that little, wholeness about
Hmm.
themselves
Hmm.
and their
Yeah.
connection. Yeah. Yes. That's
Okay.
what we're
So
up
we have this really cool conversation we want to bring to you, and it's really why we took on why we call ourselves committed parenting. We often talk about it as like a filter that we put on, that a filter to try on. We bring filters every week, and
yeah,
where we're
lens of a
standing, and
commitment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's and that's an aspect of it, but
it
like
is.
if we go back like I think back of like even when we got lit up about the idea of committed parenting, like to each of us, like committed parenting really created a world of like we really heard something distinct and something really interesting there. Like I know for
Hmm.
myself, like um when I look at like what's my commitment, it's it's like for me, it's like I get to try on because there's all these different pathways that we could have in life. There's all these
Hmm.
different directions that we could go. There's, all kinds of things I could take on in my day, and that's going to lead to very different results and experiences and outcomes that's going to happen. And it's like my commitment for myself is like when it's like I almost get to think of like what would I love to attract? Like for myself, I'm an attraction coach, so an attraction principle coach. So for me, like commitment really comes from those spaces. It's like who do I get to be? What pathway am I saying my day gets to go on? It's like I
Hmm.
am this creator of my life, and I get to think of like, okay, there's all these possible pathways. What pathway is the pathway I'm living in today?
Mm.
What's the commit? And I label that with commitment. So it's like the commitment gets to be like my guiding post, my guiding light to the pathway I'm out to fulfill on.
Hmm.
And like that's how committed parenting occurs to me. It's like I can literally wake up in the morning and be like, what what would I love my experience to be? What would bring satisfaction, fulfillment? What would families thrive look? And then it's like,
Hmm.
well, what's my commitment today? Like, what's my commitment? What's the pathway I'm standing in today? And with the outcome of, with my head on that pillow, with that satisfaction and fulfillment, that smile on my face, it's like, what's my commitment? And
Mm.
it's like from there, it's like all of these ideas will come. It's like I can have the commitment of love, I can have the commitment of connection, I can have the commitment of fun and
Mm.
spontaneity, I can have
Mm.
the commitment of um ease, I can have the commitment of communication,
Celebration, Sarah. Yeah,
celebration,
yeah.
I can have the commitment of closeness or appreciation, like,
And, and
and
then
each lead a different pathway, which is so great, a different experience for myself and the people around me.
what would be interesting to note? So I really hear how you take it on, right? It's like a
Yeah.
guidepost, okay? And then what I'm hearing is you literally use that as a guidepost. Is this what's now here, or is it what's not here? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, because then like as I'm going through my day, you know, I'm going to show up how I'm going to show up, which sometimes might be agitated, annoyed. I notice like sometimes in my day, I'm not enjoying it and it's not satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that moment, and it's like a training for myself, it's like in that moment, it's like, and I always look, am I being my reaction or am I being my commitment? Because I'm clear, if I come from my commitment, I'm going to have the outcome that I want. I'm going to have, like, that's my pathway to creation. Like, again, as an attraction coach, I am a freaking creator in my life, period, because that's what I declare. And that's what everyone gets to declare. It's like, you get to be this creator and you get to attract the experience in life that you're out to have.
Mm-hmm.
And the commitment is like, literally, it's my guide. And so checking in, it's like, am I being my reaction or my commitment? Am I being my reaction or my commitment? Am I being my reaction or commitment? And just training myself in that check-in. And is it there? Is it not there? What do I choose right now? It gives
Really
me somewhere
great.
to come from. It really, like, and it gives me like the pride, because you know what? I like, truthfully, I am a very reactive personality. I can be very reactionary. And there's been some parenting moments I'm not very proud of. There's been times I've yelled, I've screamed, I've thrown dishes, I've broken dishes, I've scared my kids. They've gotten hurt, like, emotionally. They were like upset, and like, oh, that is a like a pain that a parent then lives with, of like a guilt, or like, you see in that moment, like I could see in my kids' eyes in that moment, like I altered something for who I am for them. The safe space that I want to be for my kids, the connection and communication and space that I'm so committed to. When that reaction is present, what I want for my kids doesn't get to be present. There's and there's a guilt where I am, and a guilt only because, like, really, it's so not what I want for them. Yeah,
Okay.
and it cuts down what's possible.
Really, so we're going to be perfect, right?
No.
We're never going to be perfect because we're humans, and humans have reactions, humans have responses. And what you're saying is, in creating this commitment for yourself, you have a way to keep guiding yourself. So now I can measure, am I being my reaction or am I being my commitment? And every
Yes.
time you take on being your commitment, it has you not have this reaction win. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. It gives me freedom from my reaction. It
Okay,
gives me a
brilliant.
real pathway and access, because otherwise, in my reaction, if I don't have a commitment there and the reaction's there, if anything, it escalates. Like, if anything, the reaction, like, you just then go feeling bad or wrong or something else. But having a commitment there, it's like, I could rest in that. It's like, actually, sure, and I can acknowledge the reaction, and it can be human. Like, I still react pretty regularly, pretty ongoingly, and I get to say, though, oh, that's not what I'm committed to. And actually, what it teaches the kids is profound, because I can actually, like, say to my 9-year-old and be like, whoa, mom, I was just in a reaction there. I heard something and I made it mean something else. And I'm sorry. That is not who I am for you. And like, sometimes I react, and yeah, how is that for you?
Yeah.
And this is who I am for you. And I get to, like, clean it up. I get to, like, be human with my son, and which also gives him a space, because he has reactions that, like, it's funny. I actually, this is taking me back. It was about a year ago when there was, like, kind of a reaction about a computer thing, and I was really activated, and I noticed it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, wow, sorry, I'm stopping. That's not what I'm committed to. And what was that like for you? And he shared with me, he's like, I have big reactions like that too. I hate that. I have really big. And he started just sharing to them how he gets embarrassed when he has reactions, and he doesn't know what to do, and he hates it, and people don't like him like that. And like, it just actually gave him a space to communicate just what's there for him with reactions as well. And but I noticed, like, because I was okay with it, like, wasn't wrong or bad, he could also not be wrong or
Wrong and
bad.
bad. Really great.
And the commitment got to live, the commitment of connection and love and communication.
Yeah. And I really hear how to actually open something up versus shut something down.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's part of what we're looking for, is for things to be opened up rather than shut down.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I think when we're embarrassed or upset or reacting to something with our kids, what we're actually doing is making the space like really shut down. You know, there's no space for people to say what they need to say, for people to hear. You know?
Yeah. And that commitment can be such a space to give. It's almost like a lifeline from the reaction. Like it really
Mm,
can be. Is like you can just hold on to that commitment, and it can pull me,
yeah.
give me
And
somewhere to stand or some grounding. Like
yeah. And
it
and
keeps
again,
everything.
I just want to keep saying it's not like we're perfect, right? It's
No.
and that the opportunity of actually being not perfect is the space that you just created, where people get to share then what it's like for them, and what you just shared with your kid. He actually got to identify really clearly what it is like for him, which he wouldn't have had the space to do otherwise.
Yeah.
I really think that's super profound, right? We think what I'm hearing is we often think we have to have it together and have the
Yes.
answer.
Yes. And feel like if a reaction comes up or something comes up, we've just wrecked everything.
Mm-hmm,
Like, we've really wrecked or tarnished or
mm-hmm,
negatively impacted to the point of no repair. Like it can be like, and then it just almost builds on top of each other,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
closes things down.
mm-hmm.
Yes. For you, Miss Helen.
Well, it was really interesting because it's so funny. It was again one of those days where you and I were both thinking of things, but from a different space. And what I got connected to this morning is I was really thinking about back in the day, I used to read a lot of psychology. And one of the things around performance, like if you're like a high level athlete, so I'm interested in being a high level parent, right? No, but that is really, if I'm straight up with you, that's really what I'm interested in, is that I am a high level performer as a parent. And I remember so clearly reading about how athletes train. So they get one shot. We're lucky, we get to live with our kids quite a lot, right? But high performance athletes get like one shot at a race to perform. And how they do is they train for it. And one of the, besides the physicality, what they actually take on is training, like what it's going to be like when they win that race. They literally play it through in their mind over and over the
Mm,
step. But the part that I got connected to is is that there's something in the way they are about what's going to happen that has them be that performer. Does that make sense? So, like, if
mm,
I look as a parent, what I'm actually interested in is how I want to be about stuff as a connected, loving parent. So I can literally, that's why this commitment is so important for me, because it's literally, I have the opportunity to train myself over and over, visualizing, okay, so it didn't go right this way. It didn't happen the way I wanted to go. So if I'm standing in this commitment of being love and connection, then how would it look the next time I take it on? Right? And I just heard this new access, I think, because we actually get the chance every single day that we're in vicinity of our kids to take on what our parenting looks like. So we can
yeah.
actually train ourselves. We know from neuroscience, we can actually train our brain.
Yes.
And that's what people never had access to previously. We know our brain is plastic, and we know there are certain pathways that get triggered over and over. And we can literally, I've read up about this, we can literally train our brain
Yeah.
to
This is
create
like
new neural
mindset.
pathways.
This is literally like, and that's like attraction principle. It's a mindset coaching. It's a mindset principle. And it's like we actually get to create our mindset regarding our parenting and who we are inside of things. Like I'm just so
Mhm,
moved by like you saying that because that's the training. It's like,
mhm,
wow, to have that growth mindset, to
mm,
have that like because there's this way of like I could see myself how I used to look at it like this fixed right way.
mm.
There was a
Yes.
fixed right way, and that's actually another reason why committed parenting really spoke to me because before this, like in my younger years of parenting, I would call myself an attachment parent.
Mm,
I still go from like a lot of those principles and that connection of attachment parenting, and there's a lot of value in it, and I used to like to devour every book on it, and that's like where a lot of my background in my parenting comes from with my children.
mhm. Your values and
Yeah, and there was
yeah.
a piece though, and it was over where I was. I'm not necessarily saying what attachment parenting was, but it's how I heard it often or how I would take it on was like there was this one right way.
Mhm.
And I was really coming from a fixed mindset. So I would
Yeah.
also put everything up against was it the right way And if it wasn't the right way, guess which way it is?
Yeah.
The wrong way.
Yeah.
So I often found myself doing things the wrong way, trying to do it the right way. And that was kind of how my parenting would go a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the was trying so hard to do it the right way and usually doing it the wrong way. And then
Yeah.
left with a certain experience of myself and who I am and who my kids are. And it didn't leave that satisfaction and fulfillment. It
Mm-hmm.
left actually guilt and despair and blah and distance and yeah, unfulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was coming across this idea of committed parenting. It's like it gave that growth mindset. It gave that there is no one right way. That's why we often say you're perfectly imperfect, or you're perfect, you're imperfectly perfect, whichever way. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is no perfection, and you are perfect. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
all in one. And that's really like represents to me committed parenting. It's like there isn't a right way. And there's this way where there's this growth mindset, this performance mindset, this attraction mindset, this some mindset where you're willing or open or inside of looking. It's
Mm.
like you're interested and oriented. I love how you said like you take on, for parenting, a high performance parenting. I think
Mm-hmm.
actually that probably recreates myself. Like I didn't actually see it that way, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
um I'm really interested in the opportunity of what's available in taking on parenting and family.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see, like you see it, right? And it's like, it builds some strong foundational aspects for our children um, when certain things are in place.
Mm-hmm. We
And
know that. Yeah, we know that. We can point to that.
yeah,
Well researched. Yeah.
yeah, it's well researched. And where I can go from that fixed mind is like, okay, then if I'm not doing it this right way, my kids are going to be left incomplete with issues, and that's over here on me.
Mm.
And it was a really heavy place to be in and really affected and put a weight on who I
Mm.
could be as a parent.
Mm.
And whereas now coming from like committed parenting, like what's your commitment? Oh, there's like a lightness. It's like it doesn't have to be this right way. And I can be committed to being a high performing parent,
Mm.
but not having to always perform all properly and rightly and everything else. It's the commitment. It's like at the actual act of me being committed to something.
Mm.
Like it's so freaking a conundrum because it's like you don't have to do anything really. You don't have to be the right way or do the right thing, but the act of having a commitment has things that you want show up.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
like yeah.
Well, if you don't, you see what you're actually pointing to is when you're not committed to something. That's what the space you're actually talking about. When we're not committed to something, then we have very little say about what shows up. And that's how it also connects to performance, by the way. Is that
Yeah.
when we have a say, this is what I'm interested in, then we have a say in how it's going to show up. But the rest of the time it's default. And I think that's what we, like
Well,
whatever.
default. And I also heard something though.
Yeah.
I had a commitment. But
Mm-hmm.
my commitment, I wasn't being responsible for creating my commitment. It's like because there was a commitment to do it right,
Yes.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I could really hear there was this commitment to do it the right way, and that's what I knew for my commitment at the time because I wasn't actually looking and inspecting or creating my commitment, but I was given by a commitment of doing it right.
Yeah, I almost hear it like a rule or something, there's a
Yeah,
way to do it. Yeah.
but I really I could see though, like I oriented around it like a commitment. Like
Mm.
I was like I took it on like you know I don't know. There's something. It might not have been
Yeah.
a commitment, but it occurs right now. Of like I hear
No,
it
no,
like
no. Yeah.
there's always some kind of commitment in the background. And it's a great opportunity of like what am I committed to right
That's
now?
really good.
Like am I what commitment has me?
Mm-hmm.
Like what am I committed to right now? And like it's interesting because sometimes it could be looking good, especially from around other parents or stuff. It's like I got to be the real right parent here and do the right things. Or when it's with my kids, it could be, yeah, there could have been these past commitments of, yeah, not wanting to F it up.
No,
Yeah,
but
not wanting to cause damage, which would leave
mm-hmm.
me very careful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was just so committed to not causing damage that I wouldn't even have impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's interesting to actually, I
You
didn't
wouldn't
see it that
actually have
way,
agency in that. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
but that gives me access to something now. It's like, what is the commitment that's right there?
Mm-hmm.
And now what's the commitment I'm committed to?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm. But
because
it
that
is,
gives
because
like,
that's what I actually started to hear. Like when we're, I don't know, this is going to sound crazy, but when we're being a reaction, then actually that's what we commit to, right?
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. This whole, ooh, that's a whole world. This what's your commitment thing,
Mm,
and um, and it touches on different aspects. And as you know, even Helen and I are here in this conversation, we hear new things of
mm-hmm.
what is what's your commitment, what is committed parenting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what it's not. I can tell you what it's not too. Committed parenting is not, you know, some right way to parent.
Some
Com-
formula.
yeah, it is not some formula.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I hear committed parenting really is committed parenting is a conversation of
Mm,
discovery.
it is. Yeah.
You know, it's a conversation of discovery of who are you and what's important to you.
And
What's
that's
important for
the
you as your
freedom.
family.
Exactly. And that's the freedom in thriving, right? Like that's where you start to thrive when you're in that discovery rather than in some kind of fixed way of it have to
Yeah.
be. Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
brilliant.
a big reason why we come into these conversations, because it is all in these conversations that we get to discover
Mm-hmm.
and see what's important to us, or what lights us up, or what has us thrive, or what has us not
Mm-hmm.
thrive. And you know, and become aware.
Yeah. Really
Yeah.
great. Okay. So I'm curious, what do you hear is an action, something to take on out of this conversation?
One thing I really hear, and it goes back to like even that workshop that we ran a while back, of like the opportunity, and like, okay, if this is committed parenting, if what you're interested is in this thing called committed parenting, you know, the first thing is like, what are all those commitments that have been running you? Like what,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what is some of the trap commitments, or the commitments that maybe lead you down a pathway you're not really honestly committed to? You know, what are some of those like commitments, like for me, doing it the right way,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever, like finding those things, like not trying to do any damage, like what's just right there when you say, you know, parenting, and what's the commitment that has you, and like list them off,
Mm-hmm.
notice them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perfect, we all have them. Like
Yeah.
we all have them. And then just like, you know, look at it, and then think of your kids. I don't know, for me, I'm a visual, so I even love pulling out pictures of my kids in the moment, or maybe if they're in the room you can look around at them. And you know, what is your commitment for parenting?
Mm,
What is your commitment for your family? Like what, like almost like your family mission statement. You know, what are
mm,
you up to with this family of yours? You know, what's yours and their experience get to be? What are you so committed that they get left with every single day?
mm,
Like I always look at it as like, what are my kids getting left with when they're around me?
mm,
It's like that's what I'm now interested in, and that's how I now orientate. It's like instead of me having to do anything right, I'm like, you know, I'm like loving connections where it's at for me. And it's like
mm,
kids being heard, them knowing they're loved,
mm,
and just this beautiful connection of moments. Like to me, that's
mm,
everything.
mm,
and and so it's like, and you know, Anon came up this morning because you know we're still doing all this like living in different levels in our house, and so it's a kind of a weird family dynamic right now that really strangely works and interesting. But he came up this morning, and you know, he's sitting on the couch, and you know, it was just, there was nothing happening, but like it was just like, wow, here's an opportunity for this kid to get left with love and connection, and that he matters, and we get this moment. And so we just sat on the couch and we just talked, and it's just again another moment I'm never going to get over,
mm,
because and it's totally inside of me creating a commitment,
mm,
and like coming from there. So yeah,
mm,
I invite you each to look at, you know, what do you want your kids left with?
mm,
What do you want to put your head down on the pillow at night and be like lit up and satisfied and fulfilled? What's that commitment? And like post it loud and proud on your fridge, draw pictures on your mirror, I don't know, beside
mhm,
your bed, like scream it off the rooftops, let everybody in your family know what your commitment is.
mhm. And
and and then in each moment you just look, what is my commitment here? And it's totally fine if you're not your commitment sometimes. Oh my gosh, you're definitely, I'm sorry to tell you in advance, you're likely not going to be your commitment all the time. Warning alert. um and love yourself up for that too. And just then, what's your commitment? And then in each moment, yeah, it's so beautiful how the coming from your commitment can clean up every moment that you weren't your commitment either.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really can. Yeah, I really hear that. I think taking on like what a family, what you are, like a family mission statement, and then we can expand it to the whole family too, like creating it with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, you could even sit down with your family, right? And do this. Like, I love it, creating anything to a family opportunity if your family's game. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, what is your commitment? What's your family's motto? What's your family's vision statement? Who is each person in their family? What's important to them? Like, you might find a child, like, it's so important to them that they leave people with joy. Somebody else might be, oh, I want them left with adventure. Somebody else would be, oh, I want them left with some mystery. Like, I don't know, right? Like, it could be actually really great to ask your kids, what's their commitment inside of the family?
Yeah.
Who are they for the family? What do they want everybody left with when
Yeah.
they show up in the room?
Yep. And
Yeah. And your commitment gets to change. You can redo this like every week, every month, every year. That's the fun.
exactly. It's not like a fixed thing, right?
Yeah. And it's an opportunity. It's like our pathway to create.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take this
Awesome.
one.
Great.
Okay. So we invite you to go and take a look. What's the commitments that are already just right there in the background? That so you can just notice, and then create what your commitment is for your family, what you want them left with.
Yeah.
And scream it off the rooftops. And share here. Share what your commitments are. We'd love to hear them.
We really would. And I'm just writing on here. Awesome. Okay.
Okay. Then that's for today. We will see you tomorrow, 12:30 Pacific time. We will be here.
Indeed. Okay.
So long. Bye.